If you feel like it's gotten harder to find a job recently, you're not wrong, and I'll tell you why. The JOLTS report is released every month, and it comes from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics in the US. The JOLTS report stands for Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey. And what happens is every month we get sort of a download on what's happening in the job market. And JOLTS is really the bellwether report that we all use in order to understand how many job openings there are, how many layoffs are happening, how many new jobs are created. When someone says this many jobs were created, what they're looking at is this set of data that comes from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics in order to determine whether we have more jobs or less. It is really difficult to find a job right now. If you have been applying for jobs, you'll notice that there are more people applying for the same job. Some of the tools like LinkedIn and Indeed will allow you to see how many people have applied for the same job that you're applying for. Or they'll say, this job's been open for 2 hours and there's 200 applicants, something like that. It's more significant than I've seen in a number of years. Now, not all the technologies work the way that it does, but it is much more difficult now than it used to be to apply for a job. And I think the old methods of applying for jobs may not be as effective. I think just applying online, if you don't have an inside scoop, may not be the way to go. But here's the data. Here's actually why right now it's harder to find a job. The number of job openings that are available in the marketplace in the month of July. So right now we're in September. They just released the JOLTS report in the end of August. But for the month of July, the number of open jobs was 8.8 million. Now that's the lowest number that we've seen since March of 2021. It's a significantly lower number than we had before. If you'll remember 2021, 2022, we saw this ramp in open jobs, and it was huge. We could not, it seemed like we couldn't fill enough jobs out there. And working as a recruiter in the recruiting business, it was very difficult. It was the hardest time to find people to fill our roles and to be effective in what we were being asked to do for the companies that we're supporting. Now, take that to now, and we've seen a slowdown. This is the lowest number that we've seen, and we've been headed downward for a while. I think this is going to continue. What I believe has happened, this is my insight on this, is I believe that we had a great deal of churn in the market. People deciding coming out of the pandemic that they weren't happy with what they were doing in their careers and deciding to do something completely different coming out of that time. So what they did was they changed jobs, and a lot of them did. There was a ton of churn. That created more open positions. There were also a lot of people out there who were interested, but didn't necessarily have to go. So it felt like it was a candidate's market, a buyer's market in that time. Now, when that ultimately happened, we ended up filling a number of those jobs. And you heard about this concept of the Great Resignation. That's dumb. You don't hear people talk about the Great Resignation anymore because we're pretty much finished. The market kind of cooled economically. We had a great deal of uncertainty. We're going into a really weird election season coming up here in the next few months. So people sort of want to hunker down where they are at this point. What that means is they're leaving their jobs less frequently. There are fewer open jobs as a result of that. So right now we're the lowest that we've seen since March 2021. I think we'll continue seeing that go lower and lower. We may get a little bit of a bounce towards the end of the year. Summertime is always a depressed hiring time. So you'll get a little pop into the end of Q3 and beginning of Q4 before it gets really slow again right at the end of Q4 with the holiday season. So we'll get a little bit of a bump, but it's not great right now. What does that mean for me? Oh, the other thing that's to note, layoffs are continuing. So number of hires and total separations changed a little bit, 5.8 million to 5.5 respectively. Quits decreased to 3.5 million. That's what this means. So there are fewer quits. When there are fewer quits, there's less churn. When there's less churn, there's less open jobs in the marketplace. Bottom line, there are fewer open jobs. There are lots of people looking for those jobs, lots of active applications going into a smaller number of jobs in the end. So that's what you're getting out of the market right now and what the story is ultimately right now. So what do we do about this? The way that you find a job in a market that's depressed, and this is it's a very difficult market. It's one of the most depressed markets that I've seen in a number of years. This feels a little bit like 2008, 2009 territory. The recruiters feel it a little more because when things slow down in hiring, companies impact recruiters fastest. So you'll see a lot of recruiters looking for jobs, a lot of recruiters impacted by layoffs during times like these. And that is the case in the market. I have a number of people in my network who are actively looking for jobs, who are actively looking to do something different right now. So, and it's pretty extreme. It's the most extreme I've seen in a number of years. So that's something to keep in mind. What do you do in this situation? You got to lean back on the classic ways that you can find a job. It's mostly about relationship. It's about applying for jobs where at a company where you know someone, where you can get a referral, where you can make contact with a hiring manager. So one thing that you can do is focus on referrals. The second thing that you can do is focus your time and effort on jobs where you can get to the hiring manager. So if they've given you a clue as to who the hiring manager is in the job posting, and you can, through some investigation, get to that hiring manager, you have a much better shot of progressing if you can make contact with and sell the hiring manager on your value for the job. So there's an opportunity there for you to reach out and find that hiring manager. Making personal contact is essential. If you're one of 200 people on an applicant pool, you have to figure out how you get your resume seen, how you amplify your resume's visibility. There's a couple of ways to do that. I'm going to provide a link here in the description to a free resource that has sort of my top ways to amplify your resume. There's also a video I'll link at the end of this that will show that I do my top 5 in the video. You get 10 in the document that I give you. It's a free document, so don't worry about that. Do everything you can to amplify your resume. Adjust your resume for those jobs where there are lots of people applying so that it's very similar. If you've done things that are very similar to that job, your resume needs to look like you've done things that are very similar to that job. You've got to tweak it and adjust it as you go. All right. As things improve and as we get new JOLTS data each month, I will continue posting these, letting you know what I'm seeing in the market, how the market is changing from a day-to-day basis. But it's no joke right now. It's a tough market. It's a tough time to be a candidate out there. So best of luck. Don't lose heart. Keep hunting. Make sure that you focus on the relationships that you can find and the people that you can make contact with. This is a people business. It's a people's game. It's about connecting on a human level with someone and convincing them that you're the person that can help them to achieve their goals as a business. All right. Good luck in your search.